When people talk about weddings, they usually focus on the flowers, the suits, the champagne, or the playlists. Nobody talks about what happens before the vows, when trust is tested, and love quietly fractures behind closed doors. My name's Daniel, I'm 32, and if I'd known what really happened that night, there wouldn't have been a wedding at all. It started innocently enough. Rachel, my fiancée, had planned her bachelorette party with her bridesmaids weeks in advance. I wasn't the controlling type. I trusted her completely. We'd been together for 4 years. Steady, calm, mature. She always said that's what she loved about me. That I didn't get jealous, that I let her breathe. The night before her party, she kissed me goodnight and said, "Don't wait up, babe. We'll probably be out late." I smiled and said, "Have fun. You deserve it." I meant it, or at least I thought I did. The next day, I got a few pictures from her best friend Emily. Smiling faces, champagne glasses, pink decorations. Everything looked harmless. A normal girl's night out. Rachel looked radiant in every photo, her eyes sparkling with that confidence I'd fallen for. Around midnight, she stopped replying to my texts. That wasn't unusual, but something in me twitched. Some small instinct that didn't sit right. She came home at 3 a.m., smelling of perfume, sweat, and something I couldn't name. I asked, half asleep, "Good night." She laughed softly, said, "Flawless," and crawled into bed without another word. For a while, I believed her. The morning after, she was quieter than usual. Her phone buzzed several times while she was in the shower. I didn't look at it. I never had a reason to. But the way she snatched it the moment she stepped out, towel still around her, made my stomach twist. A week later, one of her bridesmaids, Sophie, texted me by accident. Or maybe it wasn't an accident. The message read, "Did you tell him about what happened at the club?" When I asked her about it, she froze. "That's not meant for you," she said, her face pale. Depressed. She panicked, apologized, and hung up. My heart thudded in my chest like a drum. I tried to convince myself it was nothing, but it didn't feel like nothing. 2 nights before the wedding, I met with Jason, my best man. He'd been acting off for weeks, avoiding eye contact, fidgeting when Rachel's name came up. I finally asked, "What's going on?" He sighed, rubbed the back of his neck and said, "Man, I wasn't going to tell you this, but you deserve to know." Every part of me went cold. He said the guys from the bachelor party ran into Rachel's group at the same club. What started as innocent teasing turned into shots, then dancing, then blurred lines. "Daniel," he said carefully, "there's a video. I didn't want to see it, but one of the guys showed me. I swear, it's not what you think, but it was." In the clip, Rachel was on the dance floor, grinding against some stranger, laughing like she'd forgotten her own name. Another shot, her sitting in a booth, whispering into his ear. Then the kiss. Quick, but unmistakable. I remember staring at my reflection in the window that night, unable to breathe. Every promise, every plan we'd made, it all dissolved into static. I didn't yell. I didn't confront her. Not yet. I wanted to understand why. Maybe it was one stupid mistake. Maybe she was drunk. Maybe. But the next morning, I saw her texting someone, smiling faintly, fingers trembling like she was holding something fragile and forbidden. And then, she turned her phone away when I walked in. That was the moment something inside me broke. Not loud, not violent, just a quiet snap, the sound of trust dying in silence. That morning, I watched her from across the kitchen table. She was scrolling through her phone, pretending to check the wedding planner's messages. Her hair was still damp from the shower, her engagement ring gleaming in the sunlight. So normal, so familiar. And yet, I couldn't stop seeing that video in my mind. She looked up and smiled. "You okay?" "Yeah," I said. "Just tired." It was a lie, but then again, so was everything else. That day, I went to work, but I couldn't focus. Every email, every call, every small sound felt distant. My mind replayed every moment we'd shared. The nights she fell asleep on my chest, the promises we whispered under city lights, the way she'd once told me, You're the only man I've ever felt safe with. Safe. The word stung now. By evening, I'd made my decision. Not to explode, not to beg for honesty. I wanted truth. Raw, unfiltered, and from her lips, not a screen. When she came home, I asked her to sit down. She looked nervous. Maybe she already knew. Rachel, I began. Is there anything you need to tell me about your bachelorette night? Her eyes widened for a split second, barely noticeable, but enough. She forced a laugh. What do you mean? I said evenly. If there's something you've been hiding, now's the time to be honest. She shook her head. Daniel, nothing happened. We danced, we had drinks. I pulled out my phone and placed it on the table. Then maybe you can help me understand why there's a video of you kissing another man. The silence that followed was thick enough to choke on. Her lips parted, then closed again. Tears welled up almost instantly. It was stupid, she whispered. I was drunk. It didn't mean anything. I stared at her. Then why did you lie? Because I knew you'd overreact, she said, her voice cracking. It was a mistake, Daniel. A meaningless mistake before we start our life together. I let out a slow breath. If it meant nothing, you wouldn't have hidden it. You wouldn't have called it flawless. She reached for my hand, but I pulled away. Please, she begged. Don't throw this away over one mistake. But that's the thing. Trust isn't a wall you can patch up with an apology. Once it cracks, it never looks the same again. I stood, walked to the bedroom, and opened the drawer where the wedding rings were kept. I held them for a long time, the metal cold against my palm. Then, quietly, I placed them back and began packing a small bag. When she saw, she broke down completely. Daniel, please, don't do this. Don't leave. I turned to her, calm, almost detached. You already did. Her sobs echoed down the hall as I closed the door behind me. For 3 days, I stayed with Jason. He didn't say much, just gave me space. On the 4th day, Rachel showed up at my apartment, makeup streaked, eyes swollen. She said she couldn't sleep, couldn't eat, couldn't stop thinking about how she'd ruined everything. I believed her. I believed her regret. But belief isn't the same as forgiveness. I told her I didn't hate her, that I wished her peace, that maybe someday we'd both look back and understand why it had to end before it began. She cried again, whispered, "You're really not coming back, are you?" I shook my head. A flawless night shouldn't leave scars, Rachel. But yours did. When she left, the apartment felt heavier but quieter, like the storm had finally passed. I sat on the couch for a long time, staring at the ring I never got to wear. And then I smiled, not out of joy but clarity. Sometimes, love isn't destroyed by betrayal itself, but by the silence that follows it. By the choice to lie instead of tell the truth. By the illusion of perfection we sell to ourselves because the reality is too painful to face. My wife's bachelorette party was flawless. If flawless means hiding the cracks until they split wide open.